of your awesome weakness. And he changed the subject completely. So he spoke about other things. But you can imagine me, when I heard him in which way he said it, he was constantly in my mind, and I was regretting that I had done this thing by lifting my hand and not allowing him to say it, written even. And I couldn't sleep at night. And then the next day I said, no, I'm going to ask the question myself to him. I'm going to bring back his own question. And it was just like plunging in from a cliff into the dark, and wherever I would end, that would be. And I said, I want to do that. So I was just surrendering completely. And the next day, I asked him, do you want me to serve you? And then he said, yes. And he said, I will show you how, and I will show you where. And where you will go, he explained to me, this is a part of the message, this is in the first book. Now, I will explain a little bit how I hear his voice, because I think some of you would like to know. It's a locution, they're called locutions. It's an interior voice. It's not like my voice, it is a man's voice. When Jesus is speaking, I hear the sound of his voice. When our Blessed Mother is speaking, I hear a woman's voice, very sweet, very gentle. And when I hear my angel, he has another tone of voice. It's more higher in tone than Jesus. Jesus is more tenor, I would say, below, and the other one is higher. When he is sad, I can feel his shaking, his voice is breaking sometimes. When he's happy, I can hear him breathe, like a child, happy, telling me things and breathing heavily like this, and while he's dictating them to me. I see him interiorly. All the visions to me are given inside me. It means I can describe the place, I can describe everything in detail, but inside my head, and then I know how to describe it. And I see him in the same way, all inside, but outside too. Now you say, how? Well, I know, for instance, that if I would see him standing here, he would be here, but I would see him first inside me, that I know that he's here. You understand what I mean? Anyway, this is the way I see the visions. He gives them to me when it's necessary. Only twice I heard with my proper ears my name pronounced by him. And only once he has given me a vision. That means something that was not existing, but I saw it, others did not see it, on, solidly, materially. And this was only once, when it was only necessary. I want to come now to the messages of how he presented to me our Blessed Mother. The first time, it was like this. Jesus came, as usual, in the morning, and he said, look, who is with me now? And I discerned our Blessed Mother. And I said, but it's your mother. And he said, your mother too. And that was the first lesson. Your mother too, not only his mother. Another time, he came to teach me of her title, which is Theotokos, that means Mother of God, that she is called Mother of God. So one morning I used to take under dictation all these messages of the teaching of Mother of God. And in the end, in the afternoon, my son comes from school, because he uses my son sometimes. He was 12 then, and he goes straight to his room and does his homework, and then plays a little bit the computer, while I was in my bedroom reading a book. And he comes like this, holding I don't know if you have these children's books, Asterix, the from Gaul. It's one of these cartoon drawn magazines. And he comes with that thing, and he looks straight at me, and says, without asking a question, he was stating in a very severe voice, he said, Mary is the mother of God, isn't she? And I said, what does he say? Yes, I said, of course. And then he just turned around and left. And I said, what does this child know about these things? And I went after him and I said, how did you know that she's the mother of God? And then he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, you just came in my room saying this. He said, I never came in your room. I never said this. I don't know anything about it. So Jesus used this child to come and sign it, or more or less, what he has been teaching me that morning. I want to come back into the messages of unity, because this is what is the most important in all the message. When I was in Bangladesh still, in the very beginning, when Jesus was still teaching me things about his love and all that, he said, he gave me first the 3 bars, iron bars, as a vision. And I did not understand immediately what it meant. And when I understood that these 3 bars are the churches, the Catholics, Orthodox, and the Protestant, I did not want to know anything more about it. Because I said, now, Jesus so far has been teaching me the intimacy of his love between he and I, nothing more. But now he's going to touch the problems of the church, and I don't want to get involved into that, because I have no idea about what's going on there, and it's their problem. So I dressed and I went out to do my shopping, and I just pushed this vision away. But it was always coming in front of me, and I couldn't see it. And then it was, as he described it, Jesus later on, a fall. I fell. That means I did not trust him again. And then he said to me the first words, up, lift my cross pupil, get up, and I will show you what it means. So I said to Jesus, I don't want to get involved into these problems of church. Why don't you go to somebody who knows, who is involved with these matters, and who is of high authority? They would listen to these people, not to me. He says, no, I want you. I want a nothing. Because I want to glorify myself through a nothing. If you are nothing, I can be everything. If you die to yourself and efface yourself completely, then I will show myself. But so long as I have a rival in front of me, I will not be able, I will have to combat all the time. I want somebody with no rival. Inside. Rival could be many things. I mean, your own opinion is a rival to him. Somebody who has no opinion about the church, that knows nothing, and therefore he can put everything completely his inside me, so that everything that is written is only his and not mine. So he said, but Jesus, you're talking about unity, uniting the churches. Who will read these messages? I'm in Bangladesh and nobody knows anything about this. Only a few people around me. And he said, trust me, it will go in the right ears one day. And that was left. That was perhaps 86 or 87, I can't quite remember. We left Bangladesh and Jesus sent us to Switzerland, near the Council of Churches, which is the ecumenical part. All my life I had been in Africa. All my life I had been in developing countries, and where do I end up? In the most developed country. With the same thing, the job of my husband was for that. So I was thinking, when my angel had predicted Switzerland, I said, Switzerland? That's not a developing country. He'll never find a job there. But he did. It's the headquarters there somewhere for Africa. So he was sent to the headquarters to manage Africa from there. And his job is to irrigate the Sahel desert. And it's funny because the Lord always has a bit of humor. He is to irrigate the Sahel desert, and there God gives me messages to irrigate our interior desert. So he sent us to Switzerland, and after we ended up in Switzerland in 1987. And only now I can tell you, because this is a great event which I want to share with you. From July, Jesus started to dictate to me long, complete messages about unity. And what is the first step he asks of all of us to do? And that is to unify the date of Easter, to have one Easter, not a split Easter. And that apparently is very easy. It's a question of the calendar. And then 2 months after what he has dictated to me, the phone rings, and somebody from the Ecumenical Center calls me and says, "Do you know that your message is with us? If a third or a quarter of the people inside know about it and read and are interested?" And I said, I didn't know that it was spread all over there. And that the second man in there believes, and the first man too. And I said, this is really a miracle. You know, that it came to the right ears. This is what he predicted. And the first man, he is a Methodist. The second man is an Orthodox. And the two of them, they believe. And you know that these people there, they are in link with the Pope to unite the church. This is their job there, to unite the church, to bring unity. And they're struggling with the papers, and now suddenly he said, I believe in what you have. And I want you to come over to talk to all of us in the Unity Week, which is in January 18 to 24. Every year it's the same week. It's about unity. And they make a big feast with conferences, these people in Geneva. And so they asked me to come and talk to them in one of their conferences about unity, about what God has been giving me, witnessing like I'm doing now from scratch, and reading a few messages of unity to them. And Jesus had been telling me, tell them in July, tell them this and this, tell them this and this. And I was saying, strange. Jesus, when he gives a message, he just gives the message, but tell them. But I just left it. And then I understood later on that he had been preparing all this for this week. And so yesterday only, in the morning, I was called in Geneva to talk to the first man there and the second man about the program. And after that, I was having my luggage because I was on my way here. And from there I went to the airport directly. So I'm telling you this to share this because it's a great joy, and I think for Jesus too. And I would ask your prayers for the 22nd in the afternoon, because I will be speaking then. And if they change, if they take this in consideration of what Jesus tells them, really there will be the unification of the Eastern date. And that's a big event. That would be a big event for the church. I want to talk a little bit now about the love of Jesus. He says in the beginning, when he came to approach me, Jesus, Vassula, he said, I would like you to love me. And I couldn't love him like he wanted to. So I just blurted out and I said, but Lord, I love you. Just like that. And then he didn't condemn me, because he should have condemned me then, because it wasn't real love. He said only to me, love me more. So by that I want to tell you that Jesus never, ever would blame somebody. He never had any harsh words on me. The one that would be harsh would be the devil. Or, we could be harsh towards each other. We could have harsh words. Jesus, when I was deserving really to be told off, he always said to me, and then he made me understand my mistake. So I came back to him and I said, but Jesus, I made a mistake and I did this and this and I'm sorry and I asked you to forgive me. He never said, yes, like that. He always said, never mind, daughter. You are only learning. So Jesus always lifts the soul. He never crushes it. And Jesus always, I want you to know that, he never will force you. He will respect your liberty totally. When he comes to ask me to write, he asks my permission. He says, allow me to use your hand. Permit me to use your time. Give me your permission to write more today. Always asking me because he respects my liberty. This is the most amazing thing, because many of us have forgotten how tender Jesus is and how much love he has for us. So we have more or less intellectualized God. And we go out of respect, out of duty, but not like he wants us to be intimate, like little children. When the Father was speaking to me once, he was giving me very simple sentences, but they were so deep because they used to sink in me, right through me and inside my heart. He was saying, for instance, daughter, you are mine. And then I understood really that you belong to me. You are my seed. You come from me. And it was like somebody who had amnesia. And there comes the Father to remind this child, his child, the source, from where does she come from, and to whom she belongs. So the Father came saying, I'm your Father, and you're my child. You are my seed. You belong to me. You are mine. And it was so beautiful because it penetrated into me. And I really felt like his child, and he like my Father. A very open understanding between the soul and the Creator, between the child and the Father. To the point that when I was speaking to my sister in Greek about what God would like us to do, I blurted out many times, O babas, meaning in Greek, Daddy. Daddy told me to do this. And she immediately went back like this, and I put my hand on my lips, and I went to apologize to God for having said such intimately the way. And then he said, no, do not apologize. I have received this word like a jewel. It is very precious to me. So I wanted to describe the intimacy of God. He wants us to love him intimately. And I couldn't in the beginning. So what he did, Jesus, was like that. I had the angel talking to me, and while I was still thinking I was talking to the angel at ease, he pushes away my angel and takes his place. And I went on talking to him, thinking it was my angel. And in the end, he said, it is I, Jesus. And I said, what? But I thought I was speaking to my angel. And he said, yes, in the beginning, but I pushed him away to take his place, and I want you to continue that way speaking to me. Go on in that way. Because I was becoming so tight when Jesus used to come, like a pupil in classroom who's used to the teacher, and then comes the director of the school, then you sit properly, you want to behave better, and you're not at ease, you're not yourself anymore. That's the way I was with Jesus, and Jesus did not want that. He wanted me to be very, very at ease with him. And he said to me, I want you to pray without stopping. And that was a shock for me, because I said, how is it possible? I have my son, I have to drive. How can I pray all the time? It is impossible. Then he said, yes, you can pray. You can pray. Prayer from the heart is the best that he likes. That means to talk to him, conversate with him. Conversation is praying, because it's to God, so it becomes prayer. So he said, just talk to me in a simple way. You can say anything to me. If you want to fetch your son, say, Jesus, let us go and fetch my son. Always include me in your daily life. Use the words we, us. We, us, which is, you'll never forget me this way. You'll say, let us go, Jesus, and fetch my son. Jesus, what do you think? What do we need more in this thing? And you'll hear me responding to you. I'll tell you of an anecdote. Some of the Greek ladies in Rhodos Island have been reading these messages, and they found it very, very efficient to use the words we, us, because it made them have Jesus constantly in the mind without stopping, and that was a prayer already without cease, because you included Jesus everywhere in everything you did, apart from the other prayers, Rosary and all the others. And she was very much meditating that morning. She had told me in her house, Jesus, let us do this, let us do that, let's clean the house, let's prepare lunch, and then, Jesus, it's time for us to go out. And then she just went out, and while she crossed the road, she forgot, and she said, I forgot Jesus at home. I didn't tell him to come with me. So she came back, she crossed the road, went up the stairs, opened the door and said, Jesus, please come with me. Then she made a point to go back and fetch Jesus. I want to also say to you how much patience he's got. In the beginning, the first time when my angel said to me, go to the church, the only church in Bangladesh was the Catholic church, and it was just opposite my house. So I thought it was very delicate from Jesus to make it so easy for me to have the church just opposite my house instead of having to cross the whole town. So I had to walk over the other side, and he asked me to go on Sunday to church, and that was the first time in my life going to a Catholic church. I'd never been there before. So I didn't know the communion, how it's prepared, because it's a bit different. It's open here, whereas with the Greek Orthodox, it's behind. It's with the old tradition. And when we receive communion, it's the cup with the wine and the consecrated bread inside. So he has a long spoon and he digs inside to have the two species, you say? Two sorts. And he gives to everybody the same. And, I went to the church, the Catholic church, and when I went there, I asked my sister to come with me because I was very insecure. And I stayed in the very back so that I can watch the people, what they're doing, so that I can do the same thing. If they were kneeling, I knelt. If they were crossing themselves, I crossed, and I was trying to imitate them. And I was always a step behind. And then it was the communion, which I didn't realize. And I started to queue up. And I said to my sister, they're queuing up, let's queue up too. And then she said, no, I don't dare, she said. I said, well, I'll go. So I went. And then I saw that they were doing something right in front when they were meeting the priest. They were going this way. And I said, what are they doing? And I thought, I better see what they're doing so that I do the same thing. And so I saw the person in front of me. She was doing this, but I didn't see what she received in her hand. And she left. And it was my turn. And so when I faced the priest, I did that. With my left hand, I don't remember. My right hand, I think. And he gave me the host. And I saw it. I didn't recognize Jesus because I never saw a host in my life. So I said, what is this? So I took Jesus in my hand and I walked away. And I went back at the end of the church and I said to my sister, look. She said, what is it? I said, I don't know. But anyway, it must be very holy, and I should put it near the icons. So I was holding Jesus, and in the end of the Mass, we left. And while we were crossing the garden, my sister said, do you think that it might be the communion? And I said, I don't think it has a texture like bread, because we have bread. And then she said, well, put it in your mouth and see what happens. And I thought, well, if it is a blessed piece of paper, I thought it was, some sort of holy, I don't know, I didn't know what it was. I'll just take it out back from my mouth. So I put it in my mouth, and then it started to melt. Jesus started to melt. And I realized that was the Holy Communion. And I was so embarrassed. I went home and I said, I'm a hopeless case. How come Jesus comes to a person like me? And I went home and I saw Jesus. At first I saw his feet. And I didn't want to see his face. I didn't dare look in his eye. And I looked like this and I turned my face the other way. And he came around and said, and I wanted to say something. He said, don't tell me anything. He said, come with me upstairs. So we went upstairs. He said, don't say anything before I tell you something. And he felt so happy. I was so surprised. And he said, can't you see how happy I am? I said, but what do you mean? I didn't even know you. And then he said, don't you realize that if you try, I see how much you are trying to learn. And that makes me so happy, just by trying to know me. So instead of saying, you offended me, and like I would expected him to tell me, it was just the opposite. He was very happy that I was trying. I don't know what time it is now.
Quarter after, you still have a little time.
A little time. I will read you. He says, this fortress they have built to divide you is already condemned by me. You are all brothers in me. This is what you are to teach them to believe and persuade them to do. As for those who remain divided in body and spirit, differentiating themselves under my holy name, I tell them, as I have told the church in Sardis, you are reputed to be alive in the eyes of the world, but not in your Maker's eyes. Revive what little you have left. It is dying fast, and wherever the corpse is, there will the vultures gather. Unite, assemble, invoke my name together, consecrate my body and my blood together. Do not persecute the way. Humble yourselves and bend to be able to unite and glorify me. You speak of the Spirit, but do not act in the Spirit. You speak of the way, but you rank first to obstruct it. How little do you know me? You call out my name, yet you murder my children between the sanctuary and the altar. I tell you solemnly, all of this will be brought to you in the day of judgment. Can you face me and truly say, I am reconciled with my brothers? Can you truly say, I have not differentiated myself among brothers under your holy name. I have treated them as my equal. When you present your case before me, I shall then say to your face, away with you. You have not treated your brothers as your equal. You have massacred daily my body. Where is your triumph? While I was building, you were tearing down. While I was reassembling, you were scattering. While I was uniting, you were dividing. Yet, even today, if you come to me as you are, I can heal you. I can transfigure you, and you will glorify me. Alas for those with child or with babies at the breast when my day comes. And this is a passage in scriptures that is a problem for many people. And he's given the explanation, Jesus. He says, right? Alas for those I find with sin coiled in them, as with child, and with adepts, that means followers, formed by them and their own kind. But it had been said that from your own ranks there will be men coming forward with a travesty of the truth on their lips to induce the disciples to follow them. I'm shouting, and I'm trying to break through your deafness to save you. And if I reproach you, it is because of the greatness of the love I have for you. But I tell you truly, I shall assemble one day all the separated parts of my body together into one assembly. You who love me, endure what I endure. However, console me and have faith in me. You will achieve great works in my name. Be tolerant as I am tolerant. I had been hungry, thirsty, and often starving, and you came to my help. Carry on your good works.